Is this former Empress of Amazon Lily, named Tritoma, really Luffy's mother? In the recent chapter of the manga, there was once again a discussion about Luffy's mum. And yes, that's all because of the character Tritoma who was shown. Actually, these speculations first started circulating when SBS Volume 109 was released. That's where the character Tritoma was first introduced. Timeline-wise, we can say that Tritoma's age fits well for Monkey Dragon, because if that moment we saw in the last chapter happened 44 years ago, and judging by her appearance she looked about 12 years old, then it lines up. Why 12 years old? Because that's the recorded age of the youngest member of the Kuja Pirates. During Boa Hancock's first voyage with the Kuja Pirates, it was said that she was only 12 at the time. So what about Dragon? Dragon was about 11 years old during that time, meaning Tritoma was possibly just 1 year older than Dragon. So timeline-wise, it's very possible that they could have ended up as a couple, with Tritoma being Luffy's mother. If we look at the characters linked to each Empress of Amazon Lily, Gloriosa was said to be linked to Roger, Shakky was linked to Silver's Rayleigh, and Boa Hancock is linked to Luffy. If you notice, there's a pattern forming. Legendary characters are becoming the partners of the Empresses of Amazon Lily. And since we also consider Dragon to be a legendary character, he would fit perfectly into this pattern if he really is Tritoma's partner and the father of Luffy. Now, I know the possible hole in this theory is the statement from the One Piece wiki that says women who leave Amazon Lily and come back pregnant usually give birth to daughters. So this theory that Tritoma is Luffy's mother might actually have a weak spot. Because if she really did get pregnant, then Luffy should have been born a girl, not a boy. But upon checking this statement more carefully, I found out that the information comes from what the narrator said in chapter 515, where it was mentioned that, for some mysterious reason, only girls are born on Amazon Lily. So let's suppose that Dragon really did get Tritoma pregnant. For Tritoma to give birth to a boy, it's clear that she must not have given birth on Amazon Lily, since, as stated, only children born on that island end up as girls. So what could possibly be the reason Tritoma was forced to give birth somewhere else and not return to Amazon Lily? I think it's because of Boa Hancock. As I mentioned earlier, Hancock was only 12 years old when she first joined the Kuja Pirates. And what happened to her during that time? She was kidnapped, along with her two sisters, by the Celestial Dragons. They ended up in Mary Joas for 4 years, and were later rescued by Fisher Tiger. Now if Hancock was 12 years old at the time, and the Empress she replaced was Tritoma, then that means Tritoma was the captain of the Kuja Pirates when Hancock and her sisters were kidnapped. And this happened 19 years ago, which is also when Luffy was born. So it's possible that Tritoma didn't return to Amazon Lily to give birth, because, around that same time, Boa Hancock and her sisters were abducted. And as the captain of the Kuja Pirates, those girls were her responsibility, which means she could have been out searching for them. She may have ended up giving birth during that mission. And since she didn't give birth on Amazon Lily, it's possible that she gave birth to a boy Monkey D. Luffy. And since there's a law in Amazon Lily that forbids men from living on the island, it's very likely that Tritoma gave her child to Dragon. After all, she was still technically the leader of Amazon Lily at the time, and Dragon later entrusted the child to his father, Garp, since, according to Dragon, the child would only be a weakness for him. This explains why we never saw Luffy's mother at the start of the One Piece story. Based on SBS Volume 109, Oda confirmed that Tritoma is already dead. She reportedly died from lovesickness, and we all know what causes this illness. In order to recover from lovesickness, an empress has to leave Amazon Lily. That's the only way to survive it. We saw Gloriosa do exactly that when she joined the Rocks Pirates. She left Amazon Lily. Later, we also learned that Shakky did the same, since she's still alive and currently living with the one she loves, Silver's Rayleigh. With that being said, it's likely that because Dragon was a revolutionary army leader, there was no way for him and Tritoma to live together, and that could be the reason why she died from lovesickness. Add to that the possibility that there was no immediate successor to her throne as Empress. Anyway, if we go back to the Sabaody Archipelago arc, when Kuma fought the entire Straw Hat Pirates, each member was sent by Kuma to a place he had previously visited. That was clearly shown in his flashbacks. But there's one exception: Amazon Lily. Obviously he'd never been there before, since men are forbidden from entering the island. So why did he send Luffy there? Of all places, why that specific island, when he'd never even been there himself? Could it be because he knew that Luffy's mother came from Amazon Lily? That possibility doesn't seem too far-fetched, especially considering how open Kuma was with Dragon in flashbacks, including discussions about Dragon's son, Luffy. Could it be that at some point during their time together, Kuma asked Dragon who his wife was, who Luffy's mother might be? If Dragon really answered that question and revealed that Luffy's mother was an empress of Amazon Lily, then it makes total sense why Kumano would send Luffy to Amazon Lily, right? Another piece of evidence that supports the idea that Tritoma is really Luffy's mother comes from something Buggy said in the anime, specifically in episode 512. When Buggy learned about the message 3D2Y that Luffy sent out, he was shocked to hear that Silver's Rayleigh was involved in Luffy's actions. Buggy's reaction? He suddenly started analyzing the situation and speculated that Rayleigh might actually be Luffy's uncle. Now, why would Buggy say that? He knew very well that Rayleigh wasn't related to the monkey family. After all, he sailed with him as a crewmate on the Roger Pirates. So could it be that Tritoma is actually Shakky's sister? Because if Tritoma is Shakky's sibling, and Shakky is married to Rayleigh, then it makes perfect sense for Rayleigh to be Luffy's uncle by marriage, right? And finally, one last reason to believe that Tritoma might really be Luffy's mother is something I mentioned in a recent video. Chapter 1156 might be directly connected to Luffy, since it contains the number 56, which is closely associated with Gomu, the original name of Luffy's devil fruit, the Gomu Gomu no Mi. For Oda to reveal Luffy's mother in such a special numbered chapter, that would be the perfect twist to surprise all of us fans. Anyway, that wraps up our theory about Luffy's mother. As always, if you have any thoughts or ideas about this topic, don't hesitate to drop them in the comment section below so we can all talk about it together. That's all for now. Peace.